Hello, everybody, and welcome to this AFC South show, number 47. Joining me, as always, Blake Bellamy. But today we have a special guest, Jake Asman from the Jake Asman Show and the 97.5 in the Houston radio market?
Yeah, ESPN 97.5, ESPN radio in Houston.
I got his own doing the Wheelhouse with a couple guys. Was it Brad Kellner and Cody Stutes?
You got it. Jake Asman, Brad Kellner, Cody Stutes.
Well, first question I got for you is, so you're a Jets fan.
Yes, unfortunately.
How are you feeling about the draft?
Honestly, I feel great, which is a rarity. You know, normally Jet fans, we expect the worst with the draft, but to come away with arguably the best corner in Sauce Gardner, arguably the best receiver in Garrett Wilson, one of the better edge rushers in Jermaine Johnson, and then you trade up the next day and get maybe the best running back in Breece Hall. I think this is the first time in a long time every Jet fan is really excited about what they did in the draft.
Yeah, it's definitely hard not to be excited. I definitely had Breece Hall as the top running back in this year's class, but I don't know. There's just something about the way that the Jets end up like putting the product out there on the field, and it just never seems to work out unless it's like Rex Ryan running the show for some reason.
It's been a while, man. The Jets had the longest playoff drought in the NFL, believe it or not. So, it's going to come down to Zach Wilson. Did they hit on the quarterback? It was an underwhelming rookie year. He got hurt. Finished the year pretty strong. No one watched because the Jets were terrible, but if people that actually watched saw real improvement. But, I mean, you guys know it's all about your quarterback. Can he take that leap? And that's the biggest question with them for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into some AFC South questions. Blake, you got those pulled up, or should I pull them up?
Yeah, man. I just want to know, what do you think Davis Mills has to do in order to secure the starting QB1 next year? Because next year's a pretty loaded draft class, allegedly, on paper. I know this one wasn't much. So they went and rolled with him since, he was their first pick last year. So, yeah.
He's got to play well. And I don't know, what the stat-wise it looks like, but he's got to pass the eye test to a point where this team is probably not going to win a bunch of games, right? I mean, I feel like the ceiling for the Texans could be around 6-7 wins. I just don't know if they have the talent on both sides of the ball to win much more than that. So Davis Mills is going to have to pass the eye test, right? Can you see a future where he is, the quarterback on a team that's going to the playoffs, the quarterback on a team that is contending for a championship? You might say, oh, that's unfair to be able to make the determination after just 2 years, but he was a third-round pick, and the Texans are a 5 or 6 win team. They got 2 first-round picks next year. You mentioned it, loaded quarterback class there, Blake. So there's a chance that Nick Caserio might want to just go and get his guy if they think it's Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or Tyler Van Dyke from Miami is the hot name right now as well. So, stat-wise, I mean, he's got to play well enough where they're not picking first in the draft, obviously. But how well could he play where they're, outside the top 5? I mean, what is that, 6-7 wins maybe? So he's got to pass the eye test. Does he look like a guy that if we put more talent around him, he could take a big leap and be a franchise quarterback? So there's a lot of pressure on him, unlike Zach Wilson or Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence. Those guys cannot be great this year. They'll probably get a third year as a starter. Davis Mills might not. If he doesn't go out there and take command of the offense and look like a guy that could be a franchise quarterback, they might just move on from him because it doesn't cost that much to move on from a third-round pick.
Yeah. All right. Pretty comprehensive there. Oh, man. Who do you think ends up taking the first RB1 snap of the season for the Texans?
Man, I mean, I hope it's not Rex Burkhead.
If it's Rex Burkhead, we got some deeper issues.
Yeah, it sounds like they really like Marlon Mack, so we'll see what he could do. I'm wary of a guy that hasn't been good in a couple of years. He's dealing with a lot of injuries, but look, if he has something left in the tank and you get 2018 Marlon Mack, that was a really good signing by Nick Caserio. So we'll see. I mean, in a perfect world, Dameon Pierce wins the job. I think by the end of the year, he'll be clearly the number 1 running back on this Texans team. But I think at least early on, it's likely that it's going to be a combination of Marlon Mack with Burkhead touches with Dameon Pierce kind of working him into the NFL.
That makes sense. Blake?
Yeah, do you have any second-year players that can make the leap this year, excluding Davis Mills? Who do you think is going to break out this season? Because you guys you yielded some pretty good results last season, even for your limited picks.
Yeah, no doubt. Roy Lopez was a guy that played really well as a rookie nose tackle, 6th-round pick. No one really heard of him, and he ended up starting pretty much every game for the Texans. I think he has another level he can get in year 2. I'd also look at Nico Collins. So look, Brandon Cooks and then a bunch of question marks is kind of what the Texans receiver room is right now. Brandon Cooks is awesome, but he's legitimately the only guy that you could truly count on. Nico Collins was a guy Nick Caserio really liked. They traded up to get him in that 2021 draft. He kind of flashed at times as a rookie. Maybe he could take that step in year 2. There's not a lot of star power on this team. They're a couple years away. The Texans are. Hopefully Derek Stingley could be a star. Kenyon Green could be an anchor on your offensive line. I think Jalen Petrie as a rookie could be really good for this Texans team, but they didn't have a 1st or a 2nd round pick a year ago. So it's tough to really project big leaps for guys in year 2 when you already don't have that premium draft capital. And you said I couldn't pick Davis Mills. So you're limited with your options if you're a Texan fan right now.
No, that's very true. When looking to get jerseys right now, it's a pretty tough one because you're just like, I don't know who's going to be here next year.
That's right.
So, I think, what was it? Right before all the Deshaun stuff went down, my lady bought me a Deshaun Watson jersey. Right before all of that happened.
Oh,
Still hanging up proud right behind you.
It's not. I wouldn't say it's proud. It's there, but it's there. And then
they should let you do a jersey exchange. You could swap that for a Stingley jersey or something.
Is that a thing?
I'm saying that's what the Texans should do for their fans. Someone like you get a Deshaun jersey right before all the lawsuits and the trade request. That's just brutal.
Yeah. It is what it is. It kind of seems like whenever you get a jersey, the player's gone the next day. So, Blake?
Yes, I do have it's kind of like a double-edged sword for you on this one. So what were your initial reactions when Houston took Stingley and then eventually the Jets got Gardner right after that?
Yeah, this is not even revisionist history. On our radio show, I would have taken Sauce Gardner. To me, he was the safer prospect. I felt like from a Texan standpoint, you need a guy that's going to hit that doesn't have any injury concerns. And I'm worried about Derek Stingley. I think talent-wise, there's a scenario where both guys are going to be really, really good. I'm not worried about Stingley as a player if you assume health, but he played 10 games the last 2 years total. That was concerning for me. I would have taken Sauce if I was the Texans. It's clearly the riskiest pick that Caserio has made since he has, been the Texans general manager. It doesn't mean it won't work. I personally would have taken Sauce Gardner, though, but time will tell. Look, Derek Stingley Jr., I think if he plays, he's going to be awesome. I'm a little weary of a guy that has been so injury-prone the last couple of years.
Yeah. I was at Bonnaroo not too long ago, and somebody in one of the lines was like, hey, obviously I'm wearing a bunch of Texan stuff. He's like, hey, who do you think is going to have a bigger season this year, John Mechie or Nico Collins? And at the time, I was so sun-fried that I couldn't even think. So I was just like, well, let's just see if Mechie can, come back from... Didn't he tear his ACL in the championship game?
He tore his... So that was Jameson Williams, his teammate at Alabama. Mechie tore his knee up at some point in the regular season last year, or was it even before this season? I got to look back when he specifically got hurt, but he didn't play much at all last year.
Okay. So I just kind of responded to him as just like, hey, let's see what he looks like coming back from that injury. It doesn't affect everybody the same way.
Right.
But, in theory, if he makes the field game 1, I think he's going to do a lot of good things in that slot role if that's where they end up using him. That's where I would use him anyway.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a guy that, obviously has a ton of talent. He had 96 catches, 1,100 plus yards and 6 touchdowns before he tore his ACL. And by the way, I just looked it up for you. He tore his ACL in the SEC title game. So you had Jameson Williams in the national title game. Mechie was in the SEC title game. Look, he had a 2nd-round grade based on, a lot of people I trust that evaluate the draft for a living. I got him in the 3rd round. So assuming he's healthy, I think that's going to be a really good pick. The Texans like him too, because they moved around to go up and get him. So I'm encouraged by what John Mechie could do. I think if Nico Collins pans out, Mechie pans out with Brandon Cooks, you feel really good about that top 3. Problem is with young players, it takes time, especially a young player like Mechie, who's a rookie coming off injury. So they're putting Davis Mills in a tough spot early on. And, we talked about it before. He's got to hit the ground running because he might not have, all season to truly get it done to prove he's the guy if he doesn't start off strong.
Oh, yeah. Blake?
Yeah, do you think or what would you like to see for Houston as any like late free agency before the season starts, or bring a body into training camp? Do you think they'll make any big splash additions or just anything else to help maybe Davis Mills out or maybe that defense?
It seems like they're done as far as the major moves. They signed a couple of veteran defensive ends post draft. That was their strategy after they didn't, draft a Kayvon Thibodeau or somebody else very high at number 3. So I think they're done. Now, we talked about this in our radio show. It'd be nice if they added a tight end. I mean, this tight end room, bringing back Farrell Brown, the human false start, never made any sense to me. They took a guy in like the 6th round, like Quentin Tarantino, as my co-host BK jokes around. Their tight end group outside of Brevin Jordan leaves a lot to be desired. So I'd like another tight end on this team, but it's unclear if they're going to make that move.
Did you read the article? I think it was Drew Dougherty may have wrote it, but I think it was Farrell Brown said he wanted to go all pro this year.
Yeah. So he said that at a press conference after one of the practices that the Texans had. And it's like, dude, how about you just don't false start for a couple games in a row like that? That'd be improvement for you.
For real.
I do love that energy though, because no one wants to be like, yeah, I want to be a solid number 3. Like no one wants to hear that. So it's like I would love to hear that from my players saying like, I mean, it may not happen, but probably won't happen.
All pro though.
All pro, yeah, that's Tyreek Hill kind.
What are we doing here? All pro. You couldn't even catch more than how many catches did Farrell Brown had last year, and he wants to be an all pro tight end. It's like
probably just 20 more than us, I bet.
That's true. Wow. I just don't understand. He just looked at himself one day and was just like, all pro, let's get it. And I'm just like, oh, bro.
Nice to have that confidence, right?
For real.
Youth coaches have been telling that for years, so he's just been used to hearing it.
Let's see how many catches Farrell Brown had last year. He had 23 receptions for 171 yards and did not score a touchdown, but he's going to be an all-pro this year. Okay, I'll play along.
Hey, I'm not going to hate it if it happens, all right? That would be the largest surprise probably of the entire 2022 season, going from no-name to all-pro.
I kind of hope it happens. He'll just be like, told you.
Yeah, right. Well, I can't wait for that press conference. All right, Blake.
Yeah. So, Will Fuller, former Houston Texan, there's been a lot of names about him going to Tennessee. If he does go to Tennessee, what do you expect out of him?
I'll probably play about 6 or 7 games, then a hamstring injury. I mean, that's unfortunately the story of his career. Look, Will Fuller's a nice guy. I actually enjoyed covering him. He was a super good dude, but he's had issues staying on the field. It's been tough. He's a really effective player when he's out there. I mean, he's a speed guy, right? I mean, he's a guy that you just throw it up and let him go make a play, and he could haul it in. But he's had issues staying on the field, so he's not going to get big money. I think it would make sense for Tennessee to maybe take a flyer on him, because why not? You're trying to replace A.J. Brown. You obviously made the move with Treylon Burks in the draft, but he's a rookie that could take some time to get acclimated. So it makes sense to add another veteran, opposite Robert Woods, but don't expect him to play 17 games because that's just not his history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, the guy, what was it? There was a year where, like, he and DeAndre Hopkins were on pace for over 1,000 yards, and then he just, Will Fuller just dropped off. I think he got hurt or suspended or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I was waiting on some sort of breakout year from Will Fuller. I think the Texans were too, very clearly, but I don't. There's just, you can't, when you get a speed guy, they just cannot stay on the field. Tyreek Hill is like the exception to that rule.
Yeah, but he's jacked. Man. He's a big boy. He's a freak of nature. He's kind of like a wide receiver Derrick Henry in a way.
Yeah. I could see that. So who wins the Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson fight on July 30th?
It's a great question. We broke this down on our radio show yesterday. I'm going AP, man. I mean, look, he's got experience, obviously hitting things. So I'm going with Adrian
ask his
Peterson.
13 kids.
Yeah, just ask his children, right? So I'm going Adrian Peterson. I don't know. Are people going to watch that fight? Like, are people going out of their way to tune in to watch, 2 washed up running backs fight? Maybe.
Steelers fans, Vikings fans, probably.
Yeah, I'm a Jets fan. Like, I could care less about Le'Veon Bell. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'd lean AP though. I feel like he got more dog in him than Le'Veon.
I definitely see that. I feel like Le'Veon's got too much like prima donna in him.
I want to see Tyreek Hill and Adrian Peterson. That would be a good one.
I don't know. I feel like you need somebody in Tyreek Hill's weight class. I feel like that's just too much of a. I mean, Adrian Peterson's way bigger than Tyreek. I feel like
he's a lot bigger than Le'Veon too. I think Le'Veon's 5'11".
Yeah, that sounds right. Anyway, Blake.
Yeah, I did have one more question for you. It's kind of like a hypothetical. So, if the Texans could take any player from the AFC South, no questions asked, don't worry about cap or anything, who would you take? Just plug and play.
Any player from the AFC South?
Yes.
Man, that's a great question. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks, you start there, and it's easy to say, you take Trevor Lawrence, but
I wouldn't take Trevor Lawrence. I would keep Davis Mills.
See, like, it's easy to say that, but at the same time, it's like everyone was wrong about Trevor Lawrence because he had Urban Meyer as his coach and had a bad rookie year. Like, I just don't see Trevor Lawrence being awful. Maybe he's not generational like Peyton Manning and John Elway, but I feel like the easy answer is Trevor Lawrence. But if I can't take Lawrence and I could pick maybe a different player, I mean, I'd love to say Derrick Henry, but he's a running back, and how many more years of this does he have left at this stage of his career? Yeah. I wouldn't take Ryan Tannehill. I don't love Matt Ryan. I mean, the Colts obviously have Darius Leonard. They got some other guys on their team that you like. I think it's Trevor Lawrence. You know, I understand he wasn't good as a rookie, but he's not the first rookie quarterback to struggle. Most of them do. So I think you got to go Lawrence and just bank on the fact that everyone who's anyone thought this guy was going to be a great player in this league. And, you know, hopefully with better coaching around him and better players, he could be that guy. So I would take Trevor Lawrence because I feel like you have to.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Curtis, who would you take for the Texans?
Shoot. Probably Simmons. I can't remember his first name.
Jeffrey Simmons.
Jeffrey Simmons. I'd take Jeffrey Simmons in a heartbeat.
For the Titans, I would take Quentin Nelson. I'd take him off the Colts.
I just don't know if I want to take it. Like, how many more wins am I getting with a Pro Bowl guard, all-pro guard?
I don't know. You see Tannehill get sacked as much as you do, you'll pray for a guard.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
Last year was pretty bad for that offensive line.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, no, but I feel like Jeffrey Simmons would teach a lot to Roy Lopez. So I feel like they would just like work like gangbusters eventually once they kind of gel. But I don't know. Let's see. I think that's about all the questions that we have prepared for you.
Sweet.
So I'd like to go ahead and thank you for coming on, brother.
Curtis, Blake, this was a ton of fun. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Yes,
one more thing, though, Jake, real quick. I do want to give thanks to you real quick about showing love for Corey Davis. I do think he's going to be pretty great for you guys. I watched your that episode you did. It was pretty spot on. He's a great player. I think his only issue is I feel like he may not like be obsessed with football like you'd want. Because all the intangibles are there. He's a complete wide receiver, and I love that guy. And I hope he does great.
Yeah, you know, he had a disappointing year. There's no doubt, but it was uncharacteristic with the drops. I mean, you're a Titans fan, you know that he's much better than what he did. It was a new system. Zach Wilson's a rookie. That's not easy for him. And I think Corey Davis is a really good number 2. I don't know if he's a 1, but the Jets have Elijah Moore and they drafted Garrett Wilson. Like, Corey Davis could be a possession receiver, number 2 in that offense. And he should be a lot better. I think he's going to have a much better second year with the Jets than he did as a rookie, or than he did his year 1, I should say.
Yeah, he's going to blow up. I really think he's going to be great. He's going to be on my fantasy team, that's for sure.
I like that.
All right. So where can people follow you at? And so like at Twitter at Jake Asman. Listen in on the Wheelhouse show, 97.5 Houston area, ESPN. Again, thanks for coming on, brother.
Anytime, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Sir. Again, a huge thank you to 97.5 ESPN Radio in Houston's Jake Asman for coming on. If you haven't, go like and subscribe to him on YouTube. He and Brad Kellner and Cody Stutes have a show called The Wheelhouse that's on weekdays 3 to 7. Please check it out. But beyond that, we've got the off season here, and there's not a lot going on. We're kind of waiting on training camp. Everybody's getting that football itch to when's it coming back, man? I need that touchdown, man. Come on. So what do you do to pass the time while there's not much football news or anything going on, Blake?
I've been watching All American on Netflix, and I've been playing Madden. There was a book that John Grisham wrote. He's a crime mystery guy, but he wrote one about football. It's about this player for the Browns, quarterback, gets his ass kicked, booed off, leaves the NFL, and plays in the Italian league. So I've been wanting to read that book just to kind of get my football fix in, but we're getting close. Yeah, I don't even care about preseason. Preseason doesn't even usually don't even watch it. I just kind of read stats and watch highlights.
Yeah.
You hear people like Jake talk about the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, basically, last year Scottie Phillips took off in the preseason, so I was high on him for the entire season until he got hurt later on. But I don't know. The preseason has some utility for me. I like seeing.
It's better than nothing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It ain't the regular season.
It definitely is not the regular season. But I enjoy watching the lesser known people come in and fight for a job. I enjoy all of that. I enjoy watching the position battles because one quarter is basically each quarter is dedicated to a unit on the field. They're trying to figure out who's going to be the guy, and that's almost enough drama for me to watch a whole preseason game, but not quite enough because I don't think I've ever finished a preseason game.
Yeah, it's hard to start from beginning to end and honestly say you watched every snap.
Yeah. Usually I if I'm at work or whatever, I just try to catch the highlights, but I don't know. I
listened to the games last year. I did listen to all 3 games last year. I just had a headphone in my ear while I was working or doing whatever.
Well, I think we're coming to the end of the show here today, everybody. So, Blake, thanks for coming on, brother. Always a pleasure having you on.
Always.
Episode 47 in the books. Another shout out to Jake Asman for coming on. Go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe, comment. Anything you want to comment about Jake's interview, anything we said about anything, go ahead, leave us some opinions in the comment field down below, and be good people.